afternoon, I guess, depending on where you're sitting in the world. Hang on a second. Sorry. Let me get my air going. I am breaking a sweat this morning, and my windshield is fogging up. So I'm on the way to a shoot this morning, and I've had so many people ask me about my diet. I've had a lot of people message me in my like privately on Facebook and email me and things like that, asking me, what are you doing? How are you? How is it that you're losing your weight? I think a lot of people are looking for a magic pill. So this video, I'm going to talk about what it really takes to get the weight off, what it takes to really like eat right and make long-term decisions. Because really, when it comes to losing weight, it's not a simple thing. It's not something. I mean, just sitting at the gym today, I was watching a commercial. I have my headphones in. I was listening to my M&M. I love listening to my loud, obnoxious M&M screaming in my ears while I'm working out. But I saw this commercial that came up, and this commercial comes on every single day at the same hello, and it's this, it's a program. It's essentially it's a surgical weight loss, and it's there's a lot of people who had decent experience with it, but I think more people probably have less than stellar experience with things like that with surgical weight loss. I'm not talking about like a gastric bypass or thing like that, because that can actually make some pretty dramatic improvements very quickly. But with something like Sono Bello, it's something where you can go in, have some weight loss, basically have your fat sucked out of you temporarily. You're supposed to wear like a girdle or for some length of time. I've heard some people say as long as a year. I mean, I don't have a lot of experience with that, but anyway. But then really, that doesn't create long-term success because you're not really making any changes other than the fact that you just spent, $6,000 or $10,000 or whatever it was to get rid of your waistline. So today we're 2 minutes into the video. I want to talk about what it really takes to take the weight off permanently, and it's not easy. I'll tell you that right now. It is not easy. So this is for someone who's just getting started. If you are, if you're already healthy and you already eat right and you already exercise, you're probably well ahead of this. So this might not be for you. But for people who want to jumpstart, people who want to understand what it really takes, this is definitely something that will help you, hopefully. So step number one is you really have to be in the right mindset. You have to understand that this is a permanent change, and you have to make changes that will benefit your body long term. And it's the first part of that is not physical, it's actually mental. It's a mental game. You really have to make sure that you're in the mindset of, I'm making decisions for me, and this is going to be something you have to do every single day. You have to choose you. I actually got a tattoo here just last week, and that's exactly what the tattoo is. Like, I'm walking toward my light. I'm choosing me every single day. And I think a lot of people, they go through life, with work and everything that's going on. You kind of put yourself on the back burner, and it's a huge struggle if you want to better yourself. Most people can't better themselves unless they take a moment to recognize that they are important. So the first part of this whole process is you got to make sure you're in the right mindset, because every single day is a new day. The first 2 weeks for me were actually fairly easy because I was already in the mindset prior to that. I was able to meal prep, and that's really what we're going to get to in the later part of this video is what it looks like to meal prep. So I was ready to meal prep. I started meal prepping, and I knew exactly what I needed to do. I made sure I took all the sweets out of my house. I mean, anything that would tempt me, anything that I would normally binge on. Like I love brownies, like the Little Debbie brownies. They're my favorite, especially the giant ones. Those are even better. Reese's peanut butter cups are huge, especially when it comes to like the trees or the eggs. Those are really a bad thing for me because I can sit here and have 5 or 6 of them. Before you know it, you've eaten 1,000 calories and your whole day is ruined. So you got to make sure you take all that stuff out of your house. And I mean, you should have a little. You need to allow yourself to have a little bit here and there, but you have to control it, and that's the hard part. So once you've kind of got the basics done, you've removed. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know if I'm still live or not. I am. It looks like okay. We got a phone call right in the middle of this. So anyway, so we're starting with the basics. We have to make sure we take the sweets out of our house, anything that can potentially ruin our day, and then we got to start making better choices so that the food we do put in our body is good for us. And how you start making better choices is you is put things in your house that you're already going to eat. So like if you eat noodles a lot, like if you love spaghetti, for instance, make sure that the spaghetti noodles you have in your house are good and healthy and a better option than what you had. And you're not going to like jump immediately over to like, I mean, for me, like I jumped over to zucchini noodles, and I freaking love zucchini noodles. I can have those in place of regular noodles any day of the week. One of the meals this week, I actually had zoodles. That's what they're called, zoodles, and some breaded chicken. So I just cooked the zoodles in a tiny bit of oil, and then I used Mrs. Dash. It's a no non-sodium substitute for like what you normally use to season your food, and it adds a little bit of flavor without adding the sodium that makes your body retain water. And so that's an important move as well. So if you like if you like noodles, replace it with something. If you like bread, replace it with something with less calories. There's a Sara Lee brand of bread that's 45 calories a slice. Most bread is like 110 calories or more per slice. And so if you're having, for me, like I always had two sandwiches. So if I'm having two sandwiches for lunch, and I've never had mayonnaise, but if you have mayonnaise on there, you're adding another 100, 200, 300 calories. So four slices of bread at 110 calories each, you're talking 480 or 440 calories. And then you go from there, right? You add all your other fixings on there, and it's not terrible, but like when you start to add it up, adds up really quickly. So change out your bread. Just the staples in your house. Go to Sprouts, find other staples that will replace the existing things in your house. And the reason I say Sprouts is that they have a lot of really wholesome options. So we found some noodles that were made out of chickpea noodles, and it's definitely a little bit of a different texture. The taste is a tiny bit different, but honestly, my kids they didn't really notice the difference. Like I did because I bought them, but like the kids didn't even notice the difference. And so what we did is we cut down the amount of meat we put in our spaghetti. So instead of we used to have 3 pounds of, and this is over like 10 people, 10 servings, but we'd have 3 pounds of chicken, and so now we've cut that down in half, so it's like 1.5 pounds of chicken, and then less sodium, spaghetti sauce, and then your chickpea noodles, and that's a really good option. They also have vegetable noodles as well. So that's the day to day. Like you have to have, those are your lunches, those are your dinners, and sometimes you are going to be out with people and you can't really control a whole lot, like you're at a restaurant or whatever. You don't have as many options, but by knowing what you can do, so like I would try to make sure that my meals are right around 500 to 600 calories each. So I have 3 meals a day, 500 or 600 calories each, and whatever I happen to not ingest, then that's just extra calories I don't have to worry about. My average over the last 6 weeks has been 4 pounds a week. I lost 6 pounds this last week, and that was pretty fun. So how I do it, right? That's the whole point of this video. How do I do it? I'll tell you exactly how I do it, and this is where it starts right here in the morning. So this is a smoothie, and what I do, we meal prepped over the weekend, and we bought 6 bunches of beetroot, including the greens, and altogether they're probably, 6 or 7 or 8 pounds, I think, collectively between the maybe more, but I think that's about right. So altogether we end up with about a gallon of liquid. We do juice them. I don't know if I have to tell you that, but so we juice those beets, and then we do 10 bunches of celery and juice that as well. We end up with roughly a gallon. So we're about 2 gallons. This week I changed it up a little bit. I wanted a little bit of a different flavor. I also realized that I was getting, sorry TMI, but I was getting a little bit constipated. Where prior I was actually using, instead of the beetroot, I was using some beet, but not very much. I was using more carrot. I actually switched over to beet because it's a better option for what I'm doing, for my liver and for other things. So I went ahead and switched over to beet. So it's basically 50% beet, 50% celery. I did add 3 bunches of radish, and then I added 4 limes, like whole limes, and I juiced them down, and that added definitely a little bit of a different flavor. So that's where it starts. And then what I do is I put them into ice cubes, or I put them in ice cube trays, and I let them sit and freeze for 2 or 3 days till they get all the way frozen, because it's really important that they are completely frozen. Otherwise, it does change the taste if they're not frozen. So then what I do is I have a Ninja blender, and not like the big Ninja blender. I'm talking about like the Ninja blender that produces like bottles like this, right? So then I take, depending on the size of the ice cube trays, between like a half and like maybe even up to a full ice cube tray. Like if there's a cheap ice cube trays with like these huge, really deep trays, then usually we're like 3/4 of a whole tray. I found some on Amazon that were that had silicone bottoms, and so you can push them out the bottom really easily. And those ones I use a full thing. So what I end up doing is in a 24-ounce bottle, that like the big tall, maybe it's more than 24 ounces, but I think it's 24. But in the big bottle on the Ninja blender, I fill it up 3/4 of the way with that mixture, with the frozen ice cubes, right? And then I add half a cup of, and this is only recently, I've changed over to this. Prior to this, I was using a Dole fruit blend that had mango, but I realized that mango is actually it's not as good for you on the glycemic index, and so it takes longer to process through. So I switched over to a berry blend. I was doing strawberries, but now I've got a 3-berry blend. It's got blackberries, blueberries, and raspberries, and those are 3 berries that are actually really, really good for heart health and for liver. And I have a liver disease. That's really the reason I got started in all this. That, and I want to lose my weight. So now I have a half a cup of that, and then I have half of a banana. And really, the banana, like I've had some people give me so much crap over having banana in my smoothies, but I really don't care. I do it for the flavor to kind of smooth it out, because having that much beet and celery, they kind of fight each other, and it's kind of almost like a sour, like a bitter sour taste. And so having the banana kind of smooths it out a little bit. And then I mix it up. I put about All right, sorry, I'm having some connection issues, but and then I pour it out into these 2 bottles here, and I have one right when I get back from the gym at 9:30, and I kind of milk that as long as I can, but depending on how hungry I am, it doesn't work very well. And then I have another one that I try and milk out until about noon, until about lunchtime, and then that's my breakfast. Altogether, between these 2, we're about 270 calories each, 250 to 270, depending on how you look at it. Like what. Because every day is slightly different, but that's where 500 calories breakfast is about where you want to be anyway. And then lunch, I usually do like noodles and chicken or something comparable in the 500 calorie range. And then for dinner, if I'm a little bit over 500 calories, I'm not really stressed about it. And then so I'm usually between 1,500 and 1,900 calories in a day. And for me, like, it's really important to eat when you're hungry. That's really the most important part about all this, is you can't starve yourself. Like I know that, like, with my liquid, I drink a little bit and let it sit on my stomach, and then drink a little bit and let it sit on my stomach, and that way it kind of like tricks my stomach into thinking that I'm eating all throughout the day, that it's full, right? And I've kind of gotten used to the fact that my stomach, at first it was really hard, it wasn't easy, but as time goes on, it gets easier and easier and easier. But if you're hungry, one safety thing that you can always eat is celery. You can eat a boatload of celery, and it doesn't hurt anybody. Like if I go on a road trip, if I'm traveling for an hour or two, and I know I might want to stop and get food at a drive-through. One thing that will kind of help alleviate that urge is celery. So I bring like a little cup of peanut butter. Like I think it's 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, and some celery, and I'll have probably 8 or 10 celery sticks, and I'll just chow, and that right there is enough to get me by for the whole day. I could literally eat celery all day long. I just love it. Good stuff. So anyway, that's my meal prep, and that I do when I do the beet root and whatnot. That lasts me about 2 weeks. So every couple of weeks I go spend about $50 at Sprouts. And I always buy stuff at Sprouts. Walmart is actually more expensive for this stuff. It's crazy expensive for tomato. Like you can get a whole thing of tomato, grape tomato, by the way, for $1 at Sprouts, and it costs $3 at Walmart. Beets are more expensive at Walmart by I think twice as much. Sprouts is definitely cheaper, and they're organic and they're better. And I think it's crazy that people actually spend the kind of money that they do at Walmart, thinking that it's the cheapest. So anyway, hopefully it helps. If you have any questions, if anyone wants to know any specific details, I mean, I could put together a video showing the exact process of how I do it. But I feel like this probably gives enough context to what I'm doing, and hopefully that will help. Um, Hopefully that'll help people make good decisions. To fight every day is another decision you have to make. And like when we were on a road trip just this weekend, for instance, we were for 23 hours I was on the road for over a 2-day period, and it was really hard to make sure that I had good healthy snacks in the car. But I did. I went through the health food aisles, and I had celery, and I had grapes are okay, but there's a lot of sugar in grapes. But if that's it's better than a sandwich, better than a candy bar. So it's definitely not a bad choice. You got to start somewhere. But when we got to Subway, we went. Well, there was a time we went to dinner, and we were trying to figure out what we wanted to eat, where we wanted to go, and I really knew that I wanted something healthy, and all there was a Wendy's, and there was a Subway, and I'm like, Subway is not really any better than Wendy's, really. I mean, because the biggest problem with any of those things isn't really like the burger; it's the fact that you're eating a bun, you're eating bread, and that's really high in carbs, and that's just not great. So I went to Subway, and you can actually have them make any sub that they make. You can have them make it into a salad. So I got a steak and cheese, made it into a salad, and it was amazing. Probably altogether, 600 calories at the most, and that was like with all the fixings. I had every single thing put in there except dressing. There's no dressing. There's no sauce whatsoever. That's really important for me. Like I never really had a problem with sauce, so. Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling at this point, but I just wanted to share that with you. Hopefully, this helps out. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment in the description or in the comment section below. And good luck with your weight loss, and please share your results.